Hi guys!
Hi.
Welcome back to the Mom's View. Today we are joined by the lovely Ginger, who is a mom and also a YouTuber. She has a channel called Gingerific, and she is here visiting us from Idaho. Welcome!
Yeah. Hey!
Tell us about your channel.
Well, Gingerific is kind of an idea. It was, it kind of takes the idea of how moms, like once they have kids and they start, you know, getting into all of that, they really lose sight of themselves sometimes, and they forget that they are an individual and that they are separate from their husband and their children or their, you know, partner or whatever. And sometimes moms can forget to really continue to grow inside. You know, we grow into being a mother and everything, but so Gingerific is my way of expressing that, my individuality and the things that I want to do. And it's kind of like my bucket list, and I'm really focused on like making sure that I take time for myself and I take time for the things that I want to do. And I bring my family with me. It's not something I do by myself, but I just make sure that I continue growing and and experiencing the things that I wanted to experience as an adult. So
That's great.
Yeah.
And we were talking earlier, and you brought up the idea of discussing here in the Mom's View homeschooling because you were homeschooled. Is that right? Yeah.
Yep, I was. I went to public school from kindergarten and first grade, and then after that my parents chose to homeschool us. I come from a really large family, so it was a big undertaking for my mother.
How many people? Yeah, how many?
We have 12 children.
Wow.
So I'm the sixth
Mom's
of
a
12.
rock star.
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
Did she have 12 natural births?
Yes. Yeah, well, she had one C-section actually, but other than that, the first 6 were born in the hospital, and the other 6 were born at home.
Wow.
So,
Whoa.
yeah, I was
you?
a midwife. I was the first to be born at home.
Wow.
So, yeah, so it's, you know, she's a very natural person, but her focus, and I think a lot of the reason why she homeschooled was because she really wanted to develop us as people, and as, you know, she wanted to make sure that we were influenced the way that she felt was important to be influenced. And that was a core part of the reason why she homeschooled. Everybody homeschools for different reasons, but I think that was her main thing, is the influence that her children have and growing. And she felt a great responsibility for having so many children. You know, it was her responsibility to make sure that we grew up to be good people. And so I think that was her main reason for doing that. So
She did a good job.
Mom!
So you were homeschooled through high school?
Yep, clear through high school. I graduated when I was 16, went straight into college. I started college at 16 and a half. And I just have gone slowly. I got my beauty school license when I was 18, and then I did a couple years before. You know, I went part-time. Like, they weren't like, you know, they didn't really push us to do anything that we didn't want to do. Some of my siblings graduated when they were 18, some of them 16, and I actually have a brother and a sister who haven't graduated yet. I have a 12-year-old brother still, so.
So how does it work? So what does homeschool look like? So you wake up in the morning, is there like a makeshift school, or like how does it work?
Well, for us it was really less formal. We I don't remember when we first started homeschooling, it was completely new. I don't remember anybody else in our same town who was homeschooling at the time. Then our cousins moved in shortly after, and they started homeschooling, and then it was like slowly. But there was actually a lot of persecution in the beginning. I remember my best friend from kindergarten and first grade, we were buddy, and he quit talking to me. And I still probably have only talked to him maybe 3 times since then. So, and you know, we attended the same church and everything, and there just was a different belief system there where people like judged us and had preconceived notions about what homeschooling was and how we were going to turn out. And I'm not saying that everything went perfectly, because we had our own struggles, you know, individually, just like any other kid who would attend public school. So
can you explain a little bit how it works when you're homeschooled, as far as what, you know, if you're in a class, you'll have certain subjects, things you discuss. Like for you, if it's your parents or your mom that did she have books like as referrals,
Yes.
like tests? How do you do all that?
So it was more, I would say, if you're familiar with the Montessori type schooling, you know how when the child starts growing towards one subject, they can spend more time there, and then when they need help doing, you know, in something else, then they spend more time there. But we kind of developed, and my mom had plenty of curriculum. But back then, you know, this was a long time ago, and homeschooling, the whole idea of people actually doing it was fairly new. Now there is a plethora
It's a very
of curriculums. I mean, you can have. There's universities that do it. A lot of states, like I think the state of Idaho has a curriculum that's free to homeschool families.
It is really interesting because, I mean, we're living in LA, it's made me think like, oh my gosh, this is so scary, throwing it out into the school system. And, you know, with all the budget cuts, you know, they're losing teachers, and it just feels like that's becoming more and more prevalent. How do you deal with the stereotype? I remember growing up, like, homeschooled kids were like, they're weird. You know, that's what people were saying.
I knew that were homeschooled were polygamous.
Really?
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
crazy.
yeah, there is like a huge, you know, the biggest complaint that people have, or the biggest objection that you talk about or hear about, is the social aspect of the child. However, I've never struggled with that. A lot of times when people meet me, they're like, oh, where did you go to school? And I say, I was homeschooled, can't you tell? You know?
Well, that's what I was gonna. Do you feel like you missed out, like, on, like, maybe I'm vain, but I'm like, what about cheerleading or, like, dances? You go to prom? Like, did you feel like you missed out on anything like that?
I do feel like I missed out on sports, but that was a choice that my parents made for us. They wanted us completely removed from the system, which is great. They made that choice, and I have to respect that, because I am who I am because of that, and I have to respect it. However, now you can do that. You can do both. You can be homeschooled as long as you take one class in the system.
Yeah.
So, like, I know a lot of families who will take, like, a computer class or, like, a math class or something like that, and that allows them to be in the
go be a part of
the
We
school.
had kids that, like, in the district that would just check in for, like, a first or second hour and then go home for the rest of the day. Just homeschooled, and they were in, like,
And in Los Angeles, it's very common because you have a lot of child actors, so that they're homeschooled, or, you know, if their parents move them out here to be actors, they're homeschooling them. But I know also too, I think with kids who are bullied, that's become something where they take them out of school and they homeschool them.
Right.
so sad.
And then I think it's and yours is, you know, another one as well.
But a lot of times the belief systems around homeschooling, it's different for everybody. It's just kind of like the reasons why I would homeschool would be much different than the reasons why my parents would homeschool. Or maybe Carly, or maybe Colette. You know what I mean?
Are you going to homeschool?
So you don't homeschool?
I don't homeschool my boys right now. They go to a public school, and I feel really comfortable having them there. I'm never going to say that I won't, because I don't know where I'm going to be. If I was in the situation where I was living in the big city, I have protection issues. I'm really, really protective, and so it would be hard for me to send my kids to school. But they're doing really well, and they're happy there. If it ever came a moment when my child did not want to go to school, I'd take him out, just like that. Because academically, they're actually showing that children who are homeschooled, their GPA average is around a 3.4, whereas public school children, the average is about a 2.5. So, you know, academically, it doesn't really matter if you're doing the work. That's where it is. Like, it might be right for the child, but not the parent. Or it might be right for the parent.
Is the parent really equipped to do it? Or are they going to be
I
a
think
teacher?
I would be terrified to homeschool. I'd be like, they're not going to learn what they have to learn because I'm not smart. And it would be scary to me. That would be so scary.
To take that responsibility.
Yes.
Like, even more so than what we already have of responsibility.
Right.
I would be hard for me, like you said, like, to get up and get a, you know, I try to think about maintaining the schedule that we have, and we don't really have one, and I think about maintaining like a school schedule or getting that in every day would be hard. So,
and I think that comes with the motivation behind what the child needs. Like, if, you know, I recently had a cousin of mine who she was homeschooled through part of her early years, and she told me just this last week that her 14-year-old, she just pulled out of school. Middle of the year, pulled her out. She was not happy. She was not being around the type of people who influenced her positively, and they just pulled her out, got her on an online curriculum, and she's doing very, very well. So things like that, you know, I think the motivation comes when it's the right time, if that's right for you. It's not right for everyone, but
I think that one of the, like, I never knew how to feel about that. You answered so many questions. My only concern was always authority. When you're with a teacher, you learn in school how to respect a teacher. You have an order, you wait in line, you wait for your turn, you have to, you know, like at home I could see how, do they miss out on that? I mean, how do you?
That's a hard question for me to answer, only because I came from a family of 12 children.
That's right.
And very authoritative parents.
Which is good, because then you do have to wait for your turn and all that.
Exactly. So I mean, essentially I was in a group a large group. So they were all at a different level, and that's another issue. Like, how do you teach kids all on different levels? Well, the only things that they really need to be taught on a different level are like math and reading. You know, everything else, like you can learn social studies. Like if you have elementary age children, you learn social studies, you know, and then you relearn it, and then you relearn it, and then you relearn it, and more and more and more, and you build. But the issue with, you know, authority and different things like that, like I said before, I think all of that would come. They've actually done, Brian D. Ray, he does the Home Educators Institute. He has a website, and I'm sure we can leave a link or something. But he has actually been doing research on homeschoolers since 1985. And socially, they have not found that homeschooling holds back the child. But you have to think about the parents. Okay, so if you have a parent who's really outgoing, like I'm typically, you know, people think that I'm pretty outgoing.
Yes,
and so I'm going to have,
Don't be shy, you are.
so I'm going to have children who aren't afraid to talk. Because we have kind of a loud home, and we're all talking and we're joking around and we're poking fun at each other. I met a 17-year-old girl in college, and I knew right away she was homeschooled because I can almost pick them out of the crowd, you know, whether they're outgoing or not. This going from a home situation into a classroom, that was really difficult for me at first. That was a transition. But it's a transition from high school to college too. You know, I mean, anywhere.
Yeah, when I was growing up, I didn't even know homeschool was an option, but hearing about it and knowing more about it now, I mean, I feel like for someone like me, it would have been ideal because I went to public school, but I didn't like it. You know, I did not like going to school, and my mom tells me stories when I was a kid. Like, every day I'd pretend to go to the nurse. I didn't like school, and she actually discovered I hadn't learned how to read, and I had convinced my teachers I knew how to read. Like, I totally convinced them, and she caught that. And that's how you can slip through the system if you're trying. She came and she's like, she cannot read. You know, like, you have to teach her how to read. So I just feel like it's such if you're a kid struggling in school, it can be such, I would have liked something like this. I think I would have excelled in a homeschool environment. And I think, did you struggle in school at all?
My only thing is I struggled in reading. That's where, you know, and a lot of that came from, I'm so active. I was always kind of a hyperactive person. I guess you didn't know that. But so to sit and like read, I still do not like to sit on the couch and like read a book. I don't like it. Like, I love to have an iPod in and like be doing stuff. You know, if I can read fold laundry, perfect, you know, but that's where I struggle, is because I can't just sit, you know. Even when I was like breastfeeding my children, sorry, TMI, but you know, I had a hard time just sitting to do that. And so I think that's where it came from. But as I've grown and as I've gotten older, it's just not really a problem anymore. So, you know, the playing field kind of leveled when I got into college. Even at 16, I realized, okay, everybody's been telling me I'm stupid my whole life, like all these public school kids were really mean, said a lot of horrible things, even people like that we went to church with and stuff. But I realized, you know what? I'm just as good as all these people. They have their own struggles. I have mine. Like, it's all leveled, you know. And
is it okay? Like, applying for college, do they look at you? Is it different to get like accepted in college with? Not now. Okay.
On that website, Brian Ray, he in his research has found that colleges actually are looking for homeschooled students because their GPA is so much higher, and their study skills and their focus and stuff is so much deeper. Typically, I'm not saying that public school children don't have that over the whole board. I mean, there's way more public school, you know, publicly educated children than are homeschooled. Right. I'm just saying, when you compare the statistics over a large group of both, homeschoolers typically have a higher GPA, and so colleges want that.
And public school, I mean, you do things usually in a standard way. It's like, this is the standard way we do it, but kids learn in different ways.
Exactly.
So if you're a kid who learns differently, you could struggle so much in a system where if you were just taught in a different way, you could excel. And I think, I mean, again, it goes back to the parent being able to do that. I don't think everybody will be equipped to do it. I don't know if I can do it, but if you are, I think it can help a child who might not excel in the public school environment.
So you don't let it stop if you can't teach your kids, because you can always get tutors, right?
For sure. Yeah. Well, and the thing is that the curriculums are all set up now to where, you know, they don't see a difference. I've read studies and studies and studies. I was actually trying to write a college argumentative paper against homeschooling. So I have people in my family who do homeschool. And I was neutral on the subject, but I was like, I wonder if I could prove them wrong. Like, I wonder if I could prove that it's not right, because I grew up thinking that it was right, and that it, not for everyone, but that it was a good option. But I'm like, I haven't ever tried to educate myself to see if it was wrong. I've never tried that, and I found nothing beyond opinion. All the statistics show that a parent who wants to homeschool their child and the child is happier in that situation are going to do much better than they are in the public school. Whether the parents are educated or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is their curriculum and their consistency.
I think the advantage with homeschool is, or not the advantage, I'd say, it's just the opportunity that if you have to take, I don't know what I'm trying to say, I guess it doesn't fit for every parent, because like me, it wouldn't fit for me. I share my child with his dad,
Right.
He's not with me all the time, and I have to work, like I have to pay for things, so I couldn't be I couldn't homeschool Cooper, even though I would love to. I think it'd be great. I think I love teaching. That's what I love to do, and I think what a great opportunity to be able to teach my son school, and that's what that's what I used to do. But I think that's cool that for the moms and dads who do have the opportunities to be able to do that, it's like an advantage almost. You know what I'm saying? Because family's everything, and that's how I feel anyways.
I really feel like Colette should home teach our children.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so I have a question. So, working in the school in Idaho, everything that we did was about tests and where our kids were on the test, the ISATs or Idaho Standard Assessment Test, and where the kids placed compared to other schools in science and math. And we'd have like pep rallies. If we can get our school to get in the 70th percentile, then we're gonna have a pizza party for the whole school. And so I feel like as teachers we had this pressure to get all the kids on the same level, and those tests will carry with them in their files for graduation, and that will help with colleges. And is there like a pressure or a worry if you're a homeschool kid that you're not going to take those same tests?
But do they still take them?
Or do they still take them?
Yeah,
Like, how does that work out?
Depends on the state that you're in. I think in Idaho it doesn't matter if you take them as far as the state goes, and as far as people, whether you're qualified to homeschool or not or anything like that. I never took them. No, I took one test. My mom's sister is an educator test of some kind, and she kind of tested my level to make sure, just once when I was in finishing elementary school. She just wanted to make sure where I was, and everything seemed to be fine. I was a little low in reading, which we already knew. Yeah. But mostly the curriculums that they're creating now, like the ones that my parents are using on my younger siblings, they do have tests. Okay. So they have, it's a satellite program where they get sent discs in the mail and they watch the videos, and it's basically lectures. And my mom's there making sure everyone's taking notes, and then my mom tests them on that. But see, my sister that just recently graduated, I think last year, when they go in order to graduate from homeschool, everyone needs a high school diploma of some kind. So we take advantage of the GED program. However, people think, oh, you got your GED, that's not the same as a high school diploma. There's a section of the GED or part of it that's a high school equivalency test. So there's a GED, which is just one test less than a high school equivalent, and I took the high school equivalent. So basically I have the same degree as all of you.
Yeah.
But I did it through a community college, and I just get tested where I'm at when I go in, and then I have to go to the classes and put in my time, and then I just test out. I was done in 2 months. I just went in, tested, and then I was out and into college the next semester. My sister who just graduated, she just finished when she did her initial GED testing, she was like a junior in college in English, you know what I mean? And she was 16.
That's
awesome. Or 17 or something.
So, okay.
That's okay. All I was going to say is I wasn't in college till I was 17 or 18. So, I mean, you had the advantage kind of to get done, get in, get earlier, get out.
So with the academics aside, what about dating and all those social activities that you do?
How do you find friends?
Well, the funny thing is that we were really active in our church. So we had lots of church activities I went to. We had 4-H activities. We got involved in the community side. And actually, a study that Brian Ray did on his website was children that are homeschooled and become adults, 73% of them stayed involved in their community, while as only 32% of public school adults
I believe it.
stayed involved in the community. So, like, I've already said, and it's been a conversation, I'm like, I want to get our boys into 4-H, and I want to get them into this, and I want to get them into this, and support those community activities, because it builds the community, and it also, they're great programs, and they're inexpensive, and, you know, and you get involved. Yeah, and I never had a problem with friends. I always had enough friends that I ever needed. I got asked on dates. I went to prom. I went to Sadie Hawkins dance. The school couldn't not allow us to go in if we were with a student.
Was part of that because you'd attended public school, so you'd made these friends, or you just made them through the community?
Just made them through the community. Okay. Yep. And you know, when you're going to 4-H, I was the only homeschooler, so they all went to public school. You know what I mean? Yeah. And while they had their own way, the kids that could look past it, you know, and a lot of them did. I mean, the majority of kids were nice, but there's always bullies, no matter where you go. And I just had to put on my thick skin at a younger age and just be like, all right. And the funny thing is that the worst bully I ever had still lives in the same town and works at a bar.
Cheers to you, man. Cheers to you.
Do you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it just all levels out. And really, high school and these school years are this much of your life. You know what I mean?
And what really matters, the underline, is the education that you're going to take with you to college and in your career. It's not the BFFs you made in high school, right?
Exactly. Because I feel like, you know, I have a really successful career at my job. I work in banking, and I could go as far as I wanted in that. And
I love what I text like, Ginger, can you help me with my account? I don't know what's going on. She's like, well, yes.
But, you know, so it hasn't held me back. All of my siblings have gone to college. They have graduated, you know, and I have several with degrees, and they all make great money, and it hasn't held them back. So, you know, if you want to homeschool, awesome. If it's not right for you, then just be open-minded for who it's right for.
This has changed my opinion, because I thought, I mean, I'm going to be like, homeschool kids, the ones I knew were kind of like quiet and kept to themselves and just like, oh, they're dorks.
Well, thank you so much for this. This has been the most informative. I feel like this has been we've gotten some information. You know, this is a really informative episode. So
thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And don't forget to subscribe to Ginger and go to Facebook and check out our giveaway and subscribe to the Mom's View, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thank you.